turning now to our Commitment 2024 coverage. Last night, 5 Republican presidential hopefuls took the stage in Miami for a debate on major topics impacting the country and the world. California's presidential primary just months away, and this morning we welcome California GOP Chairwoman Jessica Patterson. Jessica, good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Brandy.
First of all, do you think last night's debate actually changed any of the dynamics that we've already seen in this race?
I think we've seen changes with each one of these debates. And last night's debate that was hosted, we had such a great set of moderators. NBC did a fantastic job. We had a smaller stage with less candidates. They really got into some deeper issues. I thought it was incredibly substantive, and I think people really enjoyed seeing what Republicans have to offer.
Yeah, there were and has been a lot of talk about the topics and the things that have come up. A lot of talk about foreign policy last night. Was there any topic in particular that you think should have been more discussed?
Well, I think that the foreign policy issue is so huge right now. Here in California, we just had the Berkeley poll come out, and for the first time, Biden is underwater in California with a 52% disapproval rating. When we talk about the Israeli-Hamas crisis happening in the Middle East right now, less than 50% believe that he is doing a good job on that. When we talk about inflation and crime, 2/3 of the state think that he is handling it very wrong. This isn't some swing state. This isn't some deep red state. This is California. And when you're having issues with California voters and how they think you're doing the job as a Democrat, that's a real big red flag.
So again, are there any topics that you think should have been more discussed last night?
I think that they covered it so well. I think the moderators did a great job. I thought the candidates did a fantastic job of discussing their differences, especially, which we see a lot in the Republican Party because we are a coalition party. There isn't anyone that walks lockstep with one another. They have very different ideas and very different solutions.
And Jessica, anybody stand out to you as a possible challenger to the current frontrunner, Donald Trump?
Well, I think certainly Governor DeSantis and Ambassador Haley have been switching places, going back and forth in the polls. They both did a fantastic job last night. We really saw them get into there on some of the details. I think Ambassador Haley did a great job of talking about her position on life. And this was really critical for a lot of people to hear over the last few weeks.
Jessica, we appreciate your perspective. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.